I'm Jeremy, and I want to talk about lying right now while this is fresh on my mind because this is something that's bothered me for a long time because this is what this is all based off of with this website that I'm wanting to create, dealing with people who lie and cheat and steal and all this stuff. Part of the problem that we're having is that definitions and vocabulary words are just being thrown around all over the place where words now mean different things. So if you go up and you touch somebody on their shoulder, oh, that's rape. Or this video from Tim Pool where he's talking about critical race theory, and he's talking about, no, it's the left that they lie when they're fighting against you, and then they lie again whenever they're promoting something. And the example that he gives is critical race theory, where he's talking about whenever they want to attack something, and they want to attack like people who are Christian or who are straight or who are white, they don't say something like, you're a critical race theorist proponent. No, they don't say that. They say, you're a racist. And it's like, no, it's not. You're the racist. You're the one who's talking about it. And they change it, and they give it some kind of cute little word like equity, which means nothing. It's the vocabulary word doesn't go with the definition. They've switched it all about. And politicians do this all the time with all these stupid bills that they want to, like the Patriot Act that George W. Bush pushed after 9/11. What a load of trash. So we're going to watch a little bit about this, and I got to do it now while it's right here on my... It's just like, he nails it too, where he talks about how teachers will go, or not teachers, parents will go up and they will go to a school board and they will talk about how we don't want this critical race theory being taught. And it's like, no, you don't want racism taught. That's what it is. And he just nails it this time.
Using their language that they can eat, teaching about racism or LGBTQ inclusive policies, and made the debate over critical race theory a net. These groups have found allies in families frustrated over COVID-19 restrictions in schools and have weaponized the right's opposition to critical race theory, turning it into a political rallying point. While the efforts vary, they share strategies of disruption, publicity, and mobilization. The groups swarm school board meetings, inundate districts with time-consuming public record requests, and file lawsuits and federal complaints alleging discrimination against white students. They have become media darlings in conservative circles and made the debate over critical race theory a national issue. Virtually all school districts insist they are not teaching critical race theory.
Ah, yes. Oh, here we go. So a little pretense there to build up to this.
But many activists and parents have begun using it as a catch-all term to refer to what schools often call equity programs.
Lie.
Teaching about racism or LGBTQ inclusive policies.
Just lies.
They say conservative activists are setting their sights on ousting as many school board members as they can. Let me point something out to everybody. I've already shown you the slides. They're absolutely teaching the core tenets of critical race theory. But I am extremely frustrated with the right and their obsession with the phrase critical race theory.
Oh, here he goes. This is just like the other day when I was talking about corruption, and I believe it was that YouTube channel, was it the Officer Tatum? Or it was maybe Young Ripa? But they were showing where this is the way that you deal with it, and there was a mother who was standing before a school board, and she was talking about how I don't want this stuff being taught to the students. To my children, you are on taxpayer money. It's like, no, this is wrong. This is not the way that you deal with any of this stuff. And so he's going to clear it up a little bit right here.
Because while it is the underlying theory by which we get wokeness, you are ceding ground to the left using their language that they can easily dismiss and write trash fake news like this. That's why I say wokeness. They call it equity programs. Critical race theory isn't so much being taught in terms of the academic theory, and that's the manipulation they use and they get away with it.
So yeah, so with this one that I did with corruption the other day. I think it might have actually been yesterday. We are going to add this in with lies. I tell you what, we're going to make this larger here. So this is from Wikipedia. A lie is an assertion that is believed to be false, typically used with the purpose of deceiving someone. It's like, yes, this is exactly what they're doing. They are trying to deceive everyone to get what they want with this nonsense. Politicians do this constantly. Oh, what's that video? Oh, yes, I mean, right here, Tom McDonald's video that he just did the week or two before with the snowflakes.
If you lie to the government, they'll put you in prison. But when they lie to all of us, it's called being a politician. You think
that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do. Constantly they do this trash.
If parents were saying it's really, really simple. You go to a school board meeting and you say, the teacher's a racist. If the teacher says, white students do this, white students do that, white students have this or this and must act this way, you need only go and say, the teacher made racist comments, fire them. And when they say, what are the racist comments? Say, I will not repeat your racist garbage here in front of all these people. You want me to say these words? Disgusting. Are you a racist?
So I disagree with that a little bit. It's like, no, you say it. You make it absolutely perfectly clear that they are teaching that gays are better or blacks are better or women are better or whatever. It's like, no, we're different. And there's nothing wrong with being different. You know why? Because we're different in every single possible way. I am not like any single person out there. With my education, with my biochemical makeup that was given to me by my parents at conception, to how much money I have, to my friends and family, to where it was that I went to school, how many siblings that I have. All of these things make me completely and utterly unique. And you know what? It's okay. And I don't give a damn that I am the only person on the planet who's like me. I could care less. Because you know what? It's the truth. And I'm not going to be afraid of the truth. It's like, you know what? The world is going to go on. My life is just fine. I don't give a damn. That it's things that we can control, that has an impact. I cannot control the color of my skin, my X or Y chromosomes, or any of these things. And so whenever they start talking about race, sex, color, let me pull the specifics up on that. So right here, this is Title 11 is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin. These are things that maybe it's this one, Title 12. Yes, the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Let me read this real quick. Yeah, so this is a little bit of it here. Unlawful employment practices, Section 703 here. To fail or refuse to hire or discharge an individual, to discriminate against any individual with respects to because of such individuals' race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. I don't know why age isn't in there. So, but again, and to limit or segregate or classify employees or applicants because of an individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. You can't control those things. If you ever want to know if you're starting to cross into this territory, you have to ask yourself, are these things that people have control over, or is these things that there's nothing you can do about it? You have no control over your race, over the color of your skin. Now, you do over your religion. Religion is the odd man out. You have no control over your sex or your national origin. So whenever they do these things, do not play their games. They don't want you to call this stuff out. They want to silence you. This was something that happened. Let me pull that video up one more time. So here we go. I'm going to play it at 1.5 speed, so it might sound a little odd, but you can go back. Watch it again if you want to.
Mr. Barry, who took it upon himself with Miss Cyrus to create a curriculum.
She called them out by name. That's what you should do, because that's their game that they want to. They want to hide. This is part of the problem that we have with the internet, is that people can just go on and they can spout these things with anonymity, and that they don't have any consequences for any of this stuff. They just blurt out these stupid, meaningless platitudes where they sound really nice and pretty on the surface, or in other words, they have like these bills and these policies where they sound really nice. Well, we're talking about equity, and we want to have LGBT rights for everyone, and to be fair, and it's like, it's already there. It's already there. That's not what you're doing, because then whenever you look at it, they're talking about, well, you're a Christian, and screw that crap, and or you're straight, and you're the devil, or you're white, and it's like you're scum or some kind. It's like, that's not what it is. The two don't go together. So you call it out. You speak the truth, and you do not let them hide away and cower. Call these liars out.
Do you want the proof? I have the proof. You created a curriculum of Black Panther indoctrination. Ma'am. You use taxpayers' dollars.
One more time. They called out, you be peaceful, you should be peaceful there. She sounds right to me. They don't want nobody to get on their rear end. Get him, mama, get him.
Proof that a parent actually standing up against all of you?
She is being peaceful. I don't know if that's what they said or not, because you fast forward through that little bit. But she is being peaceful. Because she isn't doing anything. She didn't pull out a gun. She didn't pull out a knife. She's not hitting anybody. Just because your feelings are hurt because somebody's going against you. It's like, that's what they're going to do. This is the whole thing with free speech. If you ever wondered why free speech is an issue, it's because of this right now. Because how are you ever going to address problems if you don't allow people to be able to speak their mind? Oh my goodness, so they're not a robot and they don't keep their emotions in check. It's like, boo-hoo-hoo. Kids do it all the freaking time, and people live. Senior citizens, whenever they start becoming old and demented, they do the same thing too. They have their tantrums because they become senile and demented, and they don't know where they are. They get dementia, and it happens. And it's okay. And there's nothing you can do about it. Little kids are always going to be that way. Senior citizens, some of them, are always going to be that way. And you can't stop that stuff. You can stop the violence. You can keep guns and weapons out of the hands of people who are incapable, who are mentally incapable of being reasonable, rational people. Yes, and so children and senior citizens in mental decline are two of those groups. So call them out. Do not let them lie anymore.
Is that what scares you, to call out the names of these people? You work for me.
So it's like, I hate it whenever people say that. You work for me. It's like, yes and no. Yes, they do work for you, but it's not just you. And there are people who are on the other side of the aisle who don't agree with you, so you don't get to go around spouting off like you're the president and you just get to say and do whatever. No. And that's part of the problem, is that, doing this by yourself is not the way to do it. The way that the leftists do it, these far left lunatics, is that they're all in big groups and organizations and lobbyists and all this kind of stuff or whatever. And so, anyways, let's get back to Tim Pool.
You see what the left does? They don't come out and say, the classical liberals! There's classical liberalism, and they were teaching my kid Locke. They don't do that. They don't go in the woke don't go to school board meetings and complain about John Locke. They don't go to these meetings and complain about the founding fathers. They come and they say, you're racist.
Yes! Oh my goodness, that is what they do all the time. Stop letting them do this. Do not let anyone lie. I tell you what, you want to get underneath my skin, lie to me. That will do it. I will not stand for such evilness. And that is exactly what it is. I tell you what, it's just, no.
Guess what? The law says you can't do that. So when conservatives come out and go, critical race theory, then they just go, oh, we don't actually teach anything from these authors. Ibram X. Kendi, we don't do that in the school. Kimberly Crenshaw, Derek Bell, they're not in the school at all. Have a nice day. Done. That's the problem. What conservatives need to do, if a teacher says a racism, you go to the school board and say, my son came home angry and frustrated because the teacher made a bunch of racist comments. And then all these other parents who have other students, guess what? They can all say the same thing. All of our students, all of our children are complaining these teachers are racist and making racist comments. And it's very, very simple. When they say, what are the racist comments? You need only say, I will not be forced to speak those words from a racist like you. You have multiple complaints.
Again, this is where I'm going to disagree and say, no. When they say these racist things, you absolutely say, it's just like with Harry Potter, you know, don't say Lord, what's his name, Voldemort or whatever his name is. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's not like lightning's going to strike people who say his name. It's not like a curse is going to be placed upon you. Now, you shouldn't go out and say these things just nonchalant all over the place. You know, it's just like with profanity. It's like, it's not that you should never say profanity, but there should be a time and place that you should say it. The opposite, love. Love is the number one most used word in the English language because they say it for everything. Like, I love Taco Bell. And then they say, I love you, Mom. You just compared your mom to damn Taco Bell. What the hell is wrong with you and your vocabulary that you can't say something like, Taco Bell is the greatest taco joint that I like. Fast food taco joint that I like. It's the best. You know, and you can be specific. You know, whenever it comes to fast food taco places, Taco Bell, man, in my book, it's hands down the best. Don't say I love it, though. Love should be used sparingly. I've seen this plenty of times. I don't like to say the word love very much myself. And whenever I do say it, people are like, what? Must really mean it. Because you don't ever say it. Same thing whenever people use profanity. You shouldn't be dropping the F-bomb all the time. Because whenever you do drop it, people need to go, what? What did he say? Oh man, they must be pissed. Or really, they really disagree with this, or they oppose this, or whatever, or they're really shooken up. It's a great indicator to let people know how you truly feel about it. And they're never going to know if you're just F. And I know exactly what that's like because whenever I was in the Army, that's what it started off with day one, with boot camp, with the drill instructors. It was like every other single word was a profanity. It was just bam, 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 bam. And in a way, it makes sense. Because if you do ever go to war and you get captured, they're going to do a lot worse to you than just drop a bunch of profanities. Some of them are going to treat you just, you may not even live. So if you can't even handle wordplay, how are you going to react whenever it starts getting physical and some kind of torture? So.
And we are going to the board demanding the removal of a racist teacher. By their own tenets, they must be removed. Now, of course, you can always just say they made a bunch of disparaging comments about people based on their race and implied some races are better.
So, yeah, I mean, that knocks it out of the park right there. This is everything that I am trying to deal with. That this is what it's going to come down to, is that this website that I'm going to deal with is just dealing with lying. I want to play this little clip here from the Rubin report. This is an older one. It's from 2017. It's Title IX, a violation of your constitutional right. Direct message from Dave Rubin here. So we're going to listen to a little bit of this. And
the Title IX fiasco, which took root on college campuses over the past few years. Title IX is part of the Education Act of 1972, which states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial
Yeah, that sounds all great. And back whenever they did all this, yes, perfectly fine with all this.
Distance. Well, that sounds pretty good, right? What we should be going for here is an even playing field of equal opportunity. Title IX doesn't guarantee equal outcome, which is where hard work.
Oh, and that was such a thing back then, and it still is equal outcome. It's like, no, if you sit on your butt and you don't do anything, you should not be rewarded the same as somebody who's busting their chops.
Perseverance and sometimes luck come into play, but it does guarantee that whether you're a man or a woman, you won't be discriminated on because of your sex. This straightforward law.
And again, sex, something that you cannot control. You cannot change your X and Y chromosomes. You cannot change from a uterus and vulva and a vagina to a penis and sperm. You can't do that. There's no way of doing that.
Equal opportunity changed under the Obama administration, which in 2011 and 2014 issued new guidelines on how schools should.
And so it's illegal that in order for these changes to happen, the way that Title IX got there in the first place was that it took an act of Congress, and then the president had a chance to veto it. He didn't, so it passed. But what happened with Obama was that he just said, I'm just going to do things however I want to. I'm not going through the House or the Senate, and just did this. He had no right to do this. Why was he allowed to do it? Because there are not checks and balances between the people and the government. The checks and balances that we have are overwhelmingly between the three different branches of government. That there are too many barriers that prevent the people from taking actions against a tyrannical government. And that is exactly what all these presidents have done. It's what Obama did with Title IX. It's what George W. Bush did with that Patriot Act. Ugh. They just, or maybe the Patriot Act, let me see before I spout that off. Did the Patriot Act go through? Okay, no, I guess the Patriot Act actually did go through Congress, but it was ridiculous crap. The whole thing has practically been wiped away from because it just was so intrusive into people's privacy and their rights that it's just, no. It was complete total garbage. But still, I know that all these presidents have done this. All these little administrative cabinets that they create in departments or whatever. It's like, no. That's something that we watched with Jordan Peterson talking to Senator Mike Lee, and he was talking about this in a lot better detail. So you can watch that podcast with Jordan Peterson where he's talking to Senator Mike Lee, and they'll talk about that. They'll talk about how these presidents, all of them, or at least all of them that they mentioned, I mean, that they didn't go through every single president that we've ever had, where at least for 40 decades, or 4 decades, that they've been doing this. And he's like, yeah, some of these things are good, some are bad, but the way that all of them should have been was that it should have gone through Congress. And they don't.
To deal with cases of sexual assault on campus. While I believe that Obama's intentions were good,
I absolutely do not believe Obama's intentions were good. He was just like every other single politician out there. He only did what the populace wanted, what his constituents wanted, and that was it. He did not care about whether if it was right or wrong. Not for 1 second. And as a politician, where you're dealing with the law and the government, because you're a politician, it is your job, he should have known better. So I don't care. Even if you want to come at me with some kind of stupid, lame excuse, there's no excuse for the president who holds the highest office in the nation. Because even if he doesn't know, that's the whole purpose of the presidential cabinet, is that he's supposed to be surrounding himself with people who are experts to advise him.
The law, in effect, circumvented our system of due process. The Obama administration's policy used the preponderance of evidence standard in cases of sexual assault, not the beyond a reasonable doubt standard, which reduces the burden of proof on anyone accused of sexual assault.
And here's the wordplay stuff, because they changed what they wanted to describe sexual assault and rape. And there were literally cases of people where they touched me on my shoulder or my arm or whatever, and they made contact with me. They broke my personal space. It's like, yes, people flirt. They make passes. That's okay, because it's a very subtle way of starting the ball rolling. You gotta start it somehow. And for some people, that's their method of choice. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if they do say, hey, no, I'm not interested, whenever they've made it clear like that, it's like, yes, that's whenever it stops. You know why? Because a lot of people like it on both sides. There are people that they like to make passes, and there are people that they like it whenever people are making passes on them. I know, I'm one of them. I can go either way with that stuff. I like flirting with girls, and I like it whenever girls also flirt with me. What the hell's wrong with you? Of course. But I also don't have a problem that if there's a girl who's coming on to me and she's flirting with me and I'm not interested in her, I don't have a problem just saying, yeah, nothing's going to happen. I don't have to be ugly about it and be like, get the hell out of it. No, I don't have to do that either. I can just say, kind of wasting your time with that, or we're never going to be anything more than friends or whatever.
This was a subtle but powerful change in how we litigate these cases of sexual assault on campus, and some would argue an outright violation of the accused's constitutional rights.
Yep, absolutely. Because this just opened the floodgates, and there were all these stories of all these campuses with all of these trumped up things. There were a lot of these. There was one with this girl who was walking around campus with a mattress because she was claiming some kind of rape thing. And I can't remember if she completely made it up or if half of the story was right or something like that. And it was going on like crazy. Because they were like, it was also, I think, around the time with that Me Too hashtag nonsense that was going on and Believe All Women. It's like, it was insane. They were going nuts with it. And it was just one false allegation after another. It was the same thing with that judge, Cavett. Isn't that his name? The Supreme Court Justice? Let me find his name. There he is. Brett Kavanaugh, right there. Whenever he was appointed there in 2018. And what was that stupid woman's name? Who was like, 46 years ago, during college, it was a rape orgy against me or some kind of crap like that. And that... it was just one lie after another. And none of her friends knew what the hell that she was talking about. And it was just a big damn circus. Oh, it was ridiculous. And why? Because they lie. And they use lies the way that Tim Pool's talking about. Is that they change the words and they change the definitions. So then that way they skate around it. That's something that they also do like with all these military things that they do. We don't technically go to war anymore. The wordage that they use is, well, we're just playing police. It's a police action is what they do. We're just acting like cops and we're stopping this activity or something like that. But it's not war anymore. And so they get around all this stuff today because they play this word salad nonsense garbage trash. It's how we've gotten into so many of these conflicts now. It's like we haven't declared on war. When was the last time we declared war on anyone? Whoa. 76 years ago, World War III, not with Vietnam or Korea. Yep, that's the last time we've declared war. But how many times have we engaged in military actions since World War II? Because they lie. Plenty of times. Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I missed that, but barely. With NATO, with I-4. which I was a part of, the implementation force, and then it became S-Force later, supplementation force, happens constantly. Afghanistan, it's like Syria. It's like, yeah, shut the hell up. It's all it is. It's just a bunch of lies. It's a bunch of nonsense. It's like, go to war or don't. If they want to do all this stuff and commit genocide or kill themselves, let them. If this is where their policies and their actions have led them, then they have to deal with it. This is something that we dealt with whenever we declared independence from Britain. We went to war. We fought with it. And if two sides break apart and one side wants to have our aid, then let them officially call for aid, and then we can decide if we want to or not. I'm not saying that we can't get involved with these things, but there's a right way and a wrong way. And playing these lies and doing this nonsense BS is not it. Because now it's going on all over the place. And this is what you see with all this, like the Great Reset and all this stuff. It's the same thing. They give it these fancy titles. Equity and for the climate and for whatever and for global trade or whatever. It's like, no, it's not. Because the titles sound really great, but then you read what it's all about and it's like, this is not it at all. And that's whenever you find like, oh, we're going to give everyone a $2,000 stimulus check. And then whenever you look at that bill, they give billions to like the Bill Gates Foundation. They gave billions to Tesla. They're just giving money to all of these corporations. The title sounds really nice, and they're going to give money like $2,000, but then it goes off to Iranian gender studies programs or Pakistan gender studies. What? I'm tired of it. And so that's what I'm doing here with all of this stuff, is that I'm doing these little things because I don't need these to be 100% accurate with every single little detail out there. There just comes a point in time where it's like, yeah, we have enough. This is corruption, 100%. And it comes from these extremists on the left and the right. I'm not a fan of either one of them, because Republicans and Democrats both. Democrats demand the world and Republicans do absolutely nothing. So, and I want policies that we can do. Checks and balances. It's mainly with the government. There needs to be an increased power for the people to put the government in check. And if they're found of corruption, they should be stripped of their assets. Absolutely. I mean, not all of it, but I tell you what, they need to be kicked out of, like Bernie Sanders has a couple of houses, their mansions worth $1 million. Well, what's wrong with him living in a $100,000 house? He can still have a house. It can be a decent house. $100,000 in some places, yes, that is a very nice house. It's more than what the majority of the population has. Things need to be transparent. If it is not top secret, then it needs to be made public. There's nothing going on within the education system that should not be transparent. There should be nothing that should be kept secret. You should know where every single dollar is. And because of the computers and all the technology that we have, we should be able to see every last cent that goes into the system and where it all goes out. That the power of the government should be coming from the people. The Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, is for the people, by the people, not for the government, by the government. No, that's backwards. That's tyranny. That we need to be able to fire people that make the law so often, all the time. There are all these politicians that they enact all these crazy, insane, lunatic policies, and there's no accountability for them at all whatsoever. It's like, if they're going to make these laws that affect us, then we should be able to hold them to a higher responsibility. With the greater power they have, then the more responsibility that they should have to burden as a result of that. What is that? It's like Spider-Man, isn't it? With great power comes great responsibility, or something like that. We do a horrible job of teaching ethics. How are you going to be able to identify all this stuff and deal with it whenever you're never taught any of this stuff? And this is that diversity training. You know what? They do that all the time. Like Tim Pool was talking about, is that they don't say that we're attacking white people or straight people or Christian people or whatever. No, they call it diversity training. It's like, I don't give a damn what you call it. the rest of the stuff that you've put in here, it's not. This is not ethics. This is racism. This is discrimination. This is bigotry. What the hell are you talking about? That there also need to be laws that they're dismissed from service if found to be involved in corruption. So, in other words, if you are found guilty of corruption, then your career as a politician is over. You don't get to do it anymore, anytime, anywhere. Doesn't matter. Same thing with all the rest of them. If you're a cop and you're caught and you're doing something horrible, it's like, then you're done being a cop. You can't be a cop anytime, anywhere for anything else. You know, you go and you shoot an unarmed person. It's like, yeah, chances are high. You know, there might be some exceptions, but for the most part, it's like, yeah, your military or your law enforcement career is done. If you go around and you get caught having sex with children, you should be put on, yes, a sex predator list, but that should be absolutely nobody's business, except whenever, the only time that should be accessed is whenever they're looking for a job and it's a job that's related to children. So if they go and they try to get a job at like a preschool, then that registry should come up. And they should go, oh, no, you are a sexual predator. You don't get to work around with children in anywhere, anytime, for anything. You're done. There's plenty of other jobs that you can go do that have absolutely nothing to do with children. If you went out and you killed somebody, then you don't go get to work at a weapons store. CCTV cameras should be in most government offices. Almost all of them. And the ones that don't, you should have to go out and get like a decent, reasonable, high amount of permission to be able to go into a room that doesn't have cameras. And this should be like things to deal with the military or the FBI or something like that. But again, the Department of Transportation doesn't need any of that crap. Right? The education system doesn't need it. Health and medical system doesn't need it. Now, specifically with doctor-patient confidentiality, yeah, with some of that stuff, but with where the money's being spent, absolutely not. Make media responsible. Enforce the laws on them. That they should not be allowed to report on all this fake news, or I should say lies. That they should not be able to report on lies. We should do what we can to keep inflation low, because there are ways to manipulate that. And you can do this in the stock market, that you don't have to just invest in companies that are going to do well. There are ways to invest in companies and you hope for their stock to go down. That's like they had that thing going on not too long ago with GameStop. And there were all these rich investors and these companies that they were investing and waiting for GameStop stocks to collapse, and then people got their stimulus checks and they used that money to keep it all up, and so these hedge fund companies were actually losing a ton of money, and I think some of them went out of business because of it. But how do you know that? Well, if you don't know how to play their stupid systems of games that they've set up, you don't. And if you've been told the opposite, to invest in, yes, to buy whenever it's low and sell whenever it's high, which it is a strategy, but there's another strategy where you can do the opposite. If you don't know it, then you get set up for failure. Keep transactions online and provide bills for everything. Yep. I mean, we are not utilizing computers and electronics like we should. Increase the courts. Yes, absolutely. And there should be a special court system just for politicians. And whenever these courts are not being used for some kind of cases against politicians, then yeah, you know what, you could fill up their time with hearing some other kind of cases, low-level cases, pretty cut and dry stuff. There's plenty of that stuff going on. But whenever there's something that comes up with a politician, it's like, all right, we're going to clear our schedule because this is what we're here for. Absolutely. Why should they get any kind of special privilege? But yes. It's just all this stuff with this line, which is why I have on all these definitions. And if you happen to watch, like whenever I first started doing all this and I was explaining all this, I said one of the things that I had a problem with was that their wordplay that they do, where they're changing the vocabulary words or their definitions of things or whatever, and it's like, I'm tired of it. Do not use their terminology. Say the truth. It's like, no, touching someone on their arm or their shoulder is not rape. Oh, you're talking about white people? You are a racist. No more lies. I'm tired of it. If you too are tired of the lies and you're fed up with the corruption and being screwed over, if you've understood what I've been saying, give this video a like. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends and family. Throw it out there on Twitter or whatever so that people can better understand what's going on. Because this is what this whole thing is about. Up here at the very top, on all of these things, I have that this is not about changing your minds. This is about showing lies, whether if it's intentional or not. Because there are plenty of people that they're spouting off lies because they don't know any better. Because it's just, there's so much out there, and we have politicians and the media to thank for all that. And that I'm leaving this open for you to decide for yourself as to what's right or wrong. I just want the truth. So y'all can talk it over. And I want to provide the most accurate, up-to-date information possible. And that's exactly what my website's going to do. So if you understand all this, you agree, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. Make that algorithm work for us with YouTube, Bitchute, Facebook, whatever platform it is that you're working with, and give that video a like. Subscribe to my channel. I've got Patreon and Subscribe Star, and we'll make this happen. Because I cannot handle all these lies alone. It's just way too much for any one person. And all of you, man, the more the merrier. And the better it'll be. So thanks a lot for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Catch you again later. Bye.